All right, welcome in everyone here for another YouTube video. Bryce Gelman back as promised for my once a week YouTube video. I've got a guest every other week. This week, riding solo. Plenty to discuss, especially from what has happened, what has transpired over these past few days with the New York Knicks, and unfortunately, what has gone on in the absolute disaster that has been the New York Yankees. We're going to get to both. We're going to start with the positive and with the negative. I'm trying to ride this high of being a Knicks fan right now, but at the same time, as a Yankee fan, I feel the need to address what is currently transpiring for my baseball team, and it is nothing positive. So much positive going on with the Knicks, the exact opposite with the Yankees. We're going to start with the positive, the New York Knicks, and just another stellar draft for Leon Rose and the Knicks front office, bringing in Pacome Dadier with the 25th pick, and then, of course, Tyler Kolek with the 34th pick in this year's draft. And then, a few other guys. We're going to go through all the assets, but I want to focus on those two guys first. And Dadier, I know he came out of nowhere when I'll be completely honest. When I heard his name, I've maybe heard him like once or twice in the past, but nothing that rang a bell really. But the more I look into this guy, he's 18 years old, born in 2005. This guy is lengthy. He's another one of these French kids. He was the fourth Frenchman drafted in this draft. Of course, the first three were drafted in the top six. This is a guy who, if you look, you see, if you watch his highlight reel and even just full game highlights, you could see a guy who's polished. You could see a guy who's, yes, he is raw and he doesn't play great defense, but he's someone who has a shot. He has the structure of a good basketball player. And it's someone who won't be able to contribute right away. Not like the Knicks would even allow him to anyway. They want him to be a draft and stash. He's come out and said that he wants to come to New York. Get ready to learn Tarrytown, buddy. He's going to be up in Westchester the entire year. But he is someone who could grow into a good player 3 to 4 years down the line, but nothing that the Knicks are going to need right now. But again, this is a 4 to 5 year window, so I could see this being the right move for the Knicks. And of course, CBS Sports comes out and gives it a C plus, and you know who else was a C plus is Emmanuel Quickley. So there is, and I know this is I digress here, but congratulations to Emmanuel Quickley. If you missed it, Emmanuel Quickley is signing a 5-year, $175 million extension with the Toronto Raptors. The guy really deserves it. He was offered 4 years, $80 million from the Knicks. He turned that down. He bet on himself, and he got paid. So congratulations to him. All right, back to the Knicks, because he's not a Knick, unfortunately, anymore. But Dadier averaged 5.6 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 0.8 assists per game over 18 games, with the field goal percentage of 45% and then the 3-point percentage of 31%. This is the thing with these drafts. I mean, I know that there's the naked eye can only see so much. So a lot of these GMs tend to go somewhat off of stats. I know in the year of 2024, it's not like the 1990s where stats was and just from what you see from the player was the majority of it. Now there's analytics built into it and whatnot, and how teams really value players in the NBA and in shooting and length and all the stuff that has changed from the game from the 90s to now. But when you look at Dadier's numbers, I mean, if he was shooting 40% from three, he'd probably go in the top 15. I mean, if you really watch this guy's game, you could see that the structure is there, as I said. Like there is a good basketball player in there. He's raw. He's 6'8". He's going to need to get better at defense. If he wants to have any impact on an NBA court, that's just simply what you need to do these days, is you need to learn how to move your feet. You need to learn how to be a good team defender. You need to learn how to switch and whatnot. And that's something that, with time, Dadier could learn. Someone that won't need time necessarily to contribute, and we'll see with this, of course, with the Knicks' depth, is Tyler Kolek, who, I mean, man, like, the Knicks really wanted him at 24, 25. They traded down, and he was there at 34. They traded up to 34, and they got their guy around 10 picks later. And, of course, they saved a couple $100,000 by not having to draft the guy in the first round. They get the guy in the second round instead. So, and Tyler Kolek, out of Marquette, 23 years old, so he's going to be someone who can contribute if given the opportunity behind Jalen Brunson. He's a lefty as well. A lot of similarities to the game of Jalen Brunson. From what I've read, there are also similarities in the scouting reports from Jalen Brunson coming out of college, going into the NBA, and Tyler Kolek as well. And as someone who has thriving, these Big East guys, they thrive in Madison Square Garden. You throw them into that atmosphere, it's not much of a change, especially when you consider, you play Madison Square Garden the first few times, and of course the world's most famous arena. It's a spectacle. It's in New York City. You get all the hoopla from being in the biggest city in the United States. But there's also another side of it that it can be very stressful and anxiety inducing, and players sometimes don't fare too well being a part of the Knicks. But these Big East guys, they play in the Big East tournament. They have a lot of games at Madison Square Garden where they play St. John's. I know St. John's hasn't necessarily played as much in MSG, especially before Rick Pitino took over, but there are games that they play in Madison Square Garden. And Tyler Kolek is a guy who has thrived in Madison Square Garden, of course, in the Big East tournament. So this is just another splendid move from Leon Rose and the Knicks front office, getting their guy, evaluating the talent, and going out and getting them in a spot, getting Tyler Kolek in a spot in which they didn't have to give up a first-round pick to get him. They were able to get their guy in the first round. They were able to get Kolek in the second round by trading that, the 38th pick. So, again, and then this is the other thing about this draft. I mean, I in the moment, this has become like an every-year trend at this point with Leon Rose and this Knicks front office. You never know what's going on. They're always trading out of picks. They're always trading down. I was shocked when they traded up for Kolek because the Knicks haven't really been trading up in the past. They've just been trading down, trading out, gathering assets. So this is the total haul that the Knicks got. They enter the draft, the 2024 draft this year with the 24th, 25th, and 38th picks. The Knicks exited the draft with McCollum Dadier, Tyler Kolek, Kevin McCullough Jr., another guy whose name I can't pronounce. He's going to be a draft and stash anyway. And then they get 3 additional future second-round picks. So just such a great win. I mean, realistically, that's another win for this Knicks front office, for Leon Rose, another pat on the back that they could give themselves, and another, I guess, I don't want to say more leeway with James Dolan, as if he really knows what's going on in these drafts. But I think the more competent moves the Knicks make, the more Leon Rose realizes, or the more that James Dolan realizes that this is just not his team to run. I mean, it's been 5 years almost since he hired Leon Rose, and he has stayed out of it. But you could tell that he really wanted a star. The Knicks went out and got their star. Maybe he wants another guy, but I think at this point he knows just to sit back and relax, sit at his courtside seat and shut his mouth. All right. And in all respect to James Dolan, he has become much more favorable in the eyes of the Knicks fan because he has let the basketball people that he has hired do the basketball stuff. I mean, not worrying about the stuff, not worrying about everything else, not hiring a guy in Steve Mills who had no basketball experience before he came in and became the Knicks basketball guy. And he screwed up how many drafts? So I keep saying Leon. James Dolan has learned his lesson, and just as the Knicks continue to make competent moves, there becomes more trust, I'm assuming. And this is, again, all spitballing in the front office to continue making the moves because the fans trust them wholeheartedly. I don't know how you couldn't at this point. They've made all the right moves. They've done things that Knicks fans haven't expected. They've moved in silence. They haven't allowed any leaks from their camp, and they do things the right way. The only thing that a lot of people, and again, if they're winning, it doesn't matter, but the only thing a lot of people, including myself, kind of like bat an eye out is the fact that Leon Rose doesn't speak to the media. He hasn't spoken to the media since 2021, I believe, maybe even 2020. It's been a long time now. But there is a lot to be excited about if you're a New York Knicks fan. There's no shortage of good news, good information that you could sit back at and not be excited about. So again, I mean, I'm so elated, so excited for this upcoming season. It's just the best time in my life, and I guarantee you, most of the people watching this, their lives as well, to be a Knicks fan. And unless you're a fan of the team in the 70s, then yes, that reigns true for you because this team's better than the teams of the 90s. When you look at the roster makeup, the construction, and the culture, there is no doubt in my mind. I mean, the Knicks may have had the better coach in Pat Riley and the more successful coach all time, considering the fact that Riley's won multiple championships. Tom Thibodeau has never won one as a head coach, but you get my point. you catch my drift. You look at both those rosters. I mean, Hubert Davis was playing minutes on that team. Josh Hart would start on it. Like, can you imagine inserting any one of those guys on that Knicks team? They win the championship. So I digress again, but this is a great time to be a Knicks fan. Something that isn't a great time to be a fan of and a great team to be a fan of right now is the New York Yankees. And it just like, it's always this massive roller coaster of emotions when it comes to following the New York Yankees. And what more can you say of them right now other than the fact that they are just a complete mess? The wheels are falling off. They're just a dumpster fire. I mean, I don't think anyone in their right mind expected the starting rotation to continue pitching as well as they did. But the Yankees are getting back Garrett Cole, and there wasn't much to be concerned about, especially considering the fact that before Clark Schmidt's injury, there was this logjam with the starting rotation where no one really necessarily knew who was going to be taken out of the rotation. Was it going to be Nestor? Was it going to be, that definitely was going to be Stroman? Was it going to be Schmidt himself? It was never going to be Lewis Heel, who was pitching immaculately and was the front runner for the AL Cy Young. And that's obviously changed drastically since the Yankees have started this stretch in which they have gone from 49-21 to 52-30. So, I mean, this is pathetic. This really is. Let's call it like it is. Let's tell it like it is. This Yankees team is falling apart right now, whether it be injuries, whether it be pitching performances that rival some of the worst in Yankee history. This is just worst case scenario after worst case scenario after worst case scenario. You lose Giancarlo Stanton and you think, okay, great, you'll be able to call up one of your young guys. But oh wait, both of your young guys who would have slotted in there in Everson Pereira and Jason Dominguez both have long-term injuries. Pereira, of course, going out for the rest of the year with his Tommy John or whatever UCL injury he has, the throwing arm injury. And, of course, Jason Dominguez, the Martian, who everyone was excited to get back, expected to be back in July, start of July. He was ahead of schedule. Then, boom, oblique injury, out 8 weeks. So just like that, you have this double-edged sword of I don't even know if that's the right term, but you catch my drift. Like it's twice as bad. Like it's just the worst possible scenario when you consider the injuries and when you consider the fact that you don't have anyone to call up. So there are three guys in this lineup now, and this is I'm looking at the hitting because it's also been a train wreck. Besides Aaron Judge, who's having the best stretch of baseball that we've seen since Barry Bonds. I think his stats are better than in 2022 when he broke the AL home run record. What more can you ask from the guy? You know what you're getting from Juan Soto, who just stays consistent. He's kind of waned off a little bit. I mean, it's hard to expect him to stay at the 1,050 OPS line that he was at earlier this year. I mean, last year he was not near that, but he was thriving in New York, and now it's kind of regressing back to the mean. But you're still getting one of the best bats in baseball with Juan Soto. But when you've got three guys in your lineup hitting, and you lost Giancarlo, who's actually having a resurgent season, you're going to lose him for a month. He's going to come back and be 10 times worse. You just know what to expect at this point. But you lost him. You lost Rizzo, who just could not find his groove this year, has not been able to find his groove since the concussion that he suffered at the hands of, at the knees or legs or whatever it was of Fernando Tatis in last year's, whenever it was, before they realized after a month and a half that Rizzo had lingering effects of concussion. Maybe that screwed him beyond repair. Maybe he is at the point where he is just not able to be an effective baseball player in his career anymore. That's a sad reality that we might have to accept. And Ben Rice has come up and has been, I mean, listen, the bar to clear is not very high. It's really not. So if you're getting a hit once a game, like you're batting 250, okay, good. That's great at the middle of the lineup. When you're starting J.D. Davis, you're hitting J.D. Davis fourth or fifth in your lineup, a guy you just picked up, a guy you know is just not going to automatically, magically turn it on like Matt Carpenter was 2 years ago, you're in trouble. You're in deep, deep trouble. And the Yankees need to start looking at, do we make a move? Do we go out and acquire a guy we know could come in and be effective? And when you look at, and it's unfortunate the injury to Stanton, it's unfortunate the injuries to Pereira and Dominguez, because the outfield is deep as hell. Like there are many more question marks with the infield, with 3 out of 4 of the positions not being locked down for the future. You just got a shortstop. You have the best defensive shortstop in baseball, a guy at the top of the lineup that you constantly count on. He'll play most of the games this season. He's the right type of guy the Yankees need, but you need other guys to produce the bottom of the lineup too. There's a reason why 2009 the Yankees were so successful. There's a reason why the Yankees in the late 90s and early 2000s were so successful, and that was because of their guys from 7 to 9, just as much as their guys from 1 to 3. Everyone produced, especially when it mattered most. And the Yankees have still not been able to find those glue guys who have had success at the bottom of the lineup. It's been very sporadic. It was Oswaldo Cabrera at the start of the year before he completely lost his ability to hit, which was predictable, right? You can't expect a guy like that to stay that hot. It's like guys like Gleyber Torres, who should be near the top of the lineup, but he decides that he doesn't want to run out ground balls. He decides that he's just lost the ability to hit. He's off balance constantly. He's swinging pitches 2 feet out of the zone. He's just become this guy who you look at if you're a Yankee fan, and you just get so frustrated looking at his demeanor on the baseball field. When you look at how nonchalant he could be in the field, how many errors he's made in the field. He has lost himself millions and millions of dollars since the start of the season. And this was a prove-it season. This was a huge season for him, a career-changing season. And it's been a long time. We are very far away, removed from 2019, when it was looking like Gleyber Torres was one of the best up-and-coming stars in baseball. And then whatever happened in 2020, when he came back after the COVID season, after spring training, he looked good, and then he comes back overweight. And he's just not been the same player since. I mean, even a resurgent season last year and a bounce-back season in 2022, it didn't really do anything. How much does that realistically impact the bottom line of the Yankees? They need someone in Gleyber Torres who could impact the game. Not only there's no excuse for him anymore. Like, you need someone who could produce at the plate and who could play serviceable defense at second base. There's no excuses anymore. He's not shortstop. He's not out of position anymore. He's exactly where he's supposed to be, and he still sucks. So it's about time that Gleyber Torres figures it out, because if not, the Yankees are in deep, deep trouble because of all these injuries and because of everything else that we're seeing. And I know you could sit here and you could blame the starting pitching being subpar, but did anyone realistically expect these guys to keep it up? Did you realistically expect Luis Hill to maintain a 2 ERA? Did you realistically, this is the other thing, and then I'm going to get to this in a second, but did you realistically expect the rest of these guys in this rotation to continue producing the way that they were? I didn't. Someone that I'm very disappointed in, someone that we expected to be able to continue this resurgent season that he's had, is Carlos Rodon. So in the span of 3 starts, Rodon's ERA has gone from 2.93 to 4.42. How pathetic is that? How pathetic is that? Speaking of a guy who has run out of excuses, it's this guy. He gets the massive contract of $30 million a year from the Yankees. It looked like the Yankees were finally willing to address their woes with the starting rotation that they've experienced, even after signing Garrett Cole to a record deal. They've still been plagued by bad starting pitching, besides 2 large stretches, and it's their 2 best stretches of baseball that they've had. And that's the start of 2022 until around this exact same time. And that's from the start of 2024 up until this exact same time. So we're seeing history play out in the exact same way. Also with Aaron Judge's unbelievable play. Some of the best hitting that we've ever seen from a non-steroid baseball player. I think you could say that objectively. But the rest of the team has not followed the captain's lead. And that's the bottom line. These guys do not come out ready to hit. For whatever reason, there's like this dark cloud overhanging the middle of the lineup guys and the bottom of the lineup guys in the Yankees. You can have a really solid month, and then you're just not able to put it together after that. And maybe the Yankees pick it up at the end of the season. They get hot at the right time. They stay hot throughout the postseason, and they win the World Series. Anything less than that is a complete disaster, considering how they started the season, considering the fact they were able to keep up that pace of play in terms of winning without Garrett Cole, and now they have Garrett Cole back, and he can't even break 95 miles per hour in both of his starts. In his first start, yes, he was up there, but not like we've expected from Garrett Cole in the past. And you look at the type of injury that he had, you look at the frustration, and you look at the I wouldn't say disappointment, but just from what you got from all the Yankees, from the top down, the scared takes from all of those guys. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with Garrett Cole. And they got him back. Best case scenario happened. And now worst case scenario is about to play out, because how can you explain this? How can you explain this drop in velocity without saying there's an underlying issue? It's concerning, to put it bluntly, and that's what it is. Like, it's very concerning from top to bottom in the organization. And if there's one silver lining, they're about to get Scott Efros back, who's been out for almost 2 years. Just, unbelievable. It's just, man. I mean, I'm at my wit's end with this team, and I've been mostly locked into the Knicks. I've been trying to keep up with the positive team. I haven't necessarily been watching as much Yankees as I should be, but for good reason. When you look at this team, they are a shell of themselves just from a month ago. This stretch needs to be solved. It needs to be fixed. But how? A big acquisition at the deadline isn't going to change the Yankees' fortunes overnight. There are multiple systemic issues with this organization that aren't just going to be fixed by the addition of Juan Soto. It's very clear by that, because the opposing team could just walk the two guys. If the Yankees are going to continue allowing under or over 3 runs, or here's I got since the second Red Sox game, which is when this awful stretch started, they got exposed on the base pass. Jose Trevino couldn't throw out me at second base. The Yankees have only held their opponents to under 4 runs twice, an 11-game stretch. Yes, you could blame the pitching for a majority of this. Yes, the Yankees have at least produced some offense, but that's Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Anthony Volpe. Who else is giving you anything? And I'm not counting a Trent Grisham garbage time home run last night. That doesn't count. Congratulations to Trent Grisham, who's got 5 home runs in 9 hits or whatever it is. The Yankees need to figure this out. They need to skate by. They need to just figure out a way to play 500 ball for the next month or two till they get their guys back, so they're able to make a good deadline acquisition. But a deadline acquisition, a trade acquisition right now is not going to do much, realistically, to impact the Yankees' bottom line. They just need to find a way to keep the boat steady, keep it afloat, keep the organization afloat. That's all I got to say. I mean, I'm kind of lost it here. It's very hard to discuss this team right now, if I'm being honest. And yes, it's more exciting for you maybe to hear me talk negatively about an organization. But, like, I don't want to sit here and tell you what you already know. I mean, I kind of already did, but there's a different angle to all this, and that's just the fact that the organization has issues. The organization has been unsuccessful in getting what they need to do, or doing what they need to do, which is win a World Series, or even get to a World Series since 2009. And it's like everyone thought this year could be the year, and all of a sudden everything is falling apart. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. And next week, One Giant Step is back, baby. Hard Knocks starts, off-season Hard Knocks. Get excited for that. There's going to be something to look forward to if you're a Giants fan. If you're a fan of any other team as well, there's going to be some football content out there, especially if you're a Yankee fan and a Jet fan. So you can watch that as well, because keep your mind off of this. But yeah, One Giant Step will be back. Sean Morash and myself will be posting some videos on the WFA YouTube and of course on our on Megaphone and wherever else we post that, and wherever you get your podcast. But I will be sharing that out. And next week we'll have another guest for you, along with the 2 live streams as well. Maybe one less, considering the fact that it's 4th of July week. So if I don't speak to you guys before that here on my YouTube channel, happy 4th of July. Have a great week. Enjoy the nice weather. Enjoy this great time to be a Knicks fan, and try not to dwell too much on the Yankees. See you all next week.